Good evening. The Zoning Board of Appeals for the Town of Trumbull is now in session for its October 7th, 2020 session. We'd like to begin with the Pledge of Allegiance. Mr. Wentz, would you like to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Sure. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice
for all.
And I see Commissioner Riley is here, and he's actually got the flag in the background. Thank you very much. Let's have a roll call tonight. Again, Steve Elbaum, Chairman. Richard Mayo, I don't believe is present tonight.
Correct.
Correct. Commissioner Krieger.
Here.
Commissioner Saunders.
Present.
Thank you. Commissioner Riley.
Present.
Commissioner Rosansky, I don't believe is here tonight. Correct. Commissioner Reale.
Present.
Commissioner Rampino.
Present.
Terrific. Thank you very much. Has everyone had a chance to review the minutes from the September 2nd, 2020 meeting? Is there a
Motion to approve.
motion to approve? Is there a second?
Second.
Any comments or corrections to the minutes?
No.
All right, all in favor of approving the minutes, just raise your hand. Unanimously approved. We'll begin our public hearing tonight. As part of the public hearing, because of the Zoom limitations, and we will hear from the applicant, we'll hear from anybody opposed. When you appear before us tonight, please state your name and address for the record and who you're representing. Please respect other people and keep your phone or iPad or whatever device you're using on mute when you're not speaking. And then if you're also representing someone, please also identify who you're representing and name and address as well. I'd also like to turn this over now to our town council to discuss some of the background and rules for tonight.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just for the record, I want to state that tonight's meeting is the October 7th regular meeting of the Zoning Board of Appeals. The meeting's being conducted pursuant to the Governor's Executive Orders 7B and 7I by teleconference and video conference over the internet and or the telephone. The public may comment during the public comment section of the meeting by either Zoom or teleconference by electronically raising your hand, and further instructions will be provided at that time. Please note that posting comments on Facebook Live or any other online format will not be included in the record and will not be seen by the commissioners. The agenda for this meeting was posted 24 hours in advance, as well as all of the supporting material for any applications that are being heard tonight. They were all posted on the town website. I would ask all commissioners and participants to kindly identify yourselves before speaking for the benefit of anyone who might just be listening by telephone alone. And for any votes on matters, I would request that the vote be by roll call, Mr. Chairman. And lastly, I'd advise everyone tonight that this meeting is being recorded. Thank you. Mr. Chairman, you are on mute, so
Sorry, I'll
no worries.
figure that out one of these days. So from my understanding, and commissioners and town council, please correct me if I'm wrong, we have two alternates tonight, Commissioner Rampino and Commissioner Riley, and they'll both be seated for this, but because we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 people, we'll alternate their voting for each application. Is that correct?
I think that's how we've worked it in the past. On the first application, Commissioner Reale may be recusing himself, so then they would both vote on that first application.
Okay. All right. We'll go through the applications in the order that they appear on our agenda. I apologize in advance for any mispronounced names. Application 20-24, 55 Woodlawn Drive, David Steves for Donna Quinlan.
Yes.
Please come forward and address us. And before you address us, Commissioner Reale.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, Commissioner Reale, I'd like to recuse myself from this application as I have a relationship through a party to the representative for the applicant.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner Reale. If you just want to mute and take your screen off, great. All right. Mr. Steves, please go ahead. Good evening.
Good evening, everyone. David Steves, 115 Putney Green Road in Trumbull, and I filed the application for 55 Woodlawn Drive for Donna Quinlan. The application is pretty simple and straightforward. If you look at the site survey, you'll see the north side of the property sits very close to the property line. The corner of the house is 9 feet 2 inches away, and the current deck, permanent deck, is about 18 feet away. There's a proposed deck which will come about 15 feet away from the north property line. Besides that, anything else worth noting is there's a current slate patio and stone wall. Upon approval of the deck, Ms. Quinlan would like to have the stone wall and slate patio removed, giving her more room for a usable yard. If you have any questions, I can answer them now.
Thank you, Mr. Steves. I don't have any questions. Commissioners, for tonight, I'm just going to call people and probably in the same order each time, in the order that you happen to appear on my screen. Commissioner Krieger, any questions?
No questions.
Commissioner Rampino, any questions?
No questions.
Commissioner Saunders?
No questions.
Thank you. Commissioner Riley? Commissioner Riley, any questions? Nope. Thank you. I don't have any questions. Is there anyone else on the call who'd like to speak in favor of application 20-24? Please come forward. Is there
If there
anyone?
are residents who would like to speak or listening or watching, please click the raise hand button at the bottom, or if you're on the phone, press *9.
Thank you, Mr. Chin. That was Mr. Chin, who's the IT director for the town.
500.
Seeing no one, is there anyone here who'd like to speak in opposition to application 20-24, 55 Woodlawn Drive? Please come forward. Anyone in opposition? All right, I'm going to end the public hearing by unanimous consent, unless there is objection, and go into our work session for application 20-24, 55 Woodlawn Drive. I think this is relatively minor. The deck's pretty much going over the existing patio. And there's, it's as Mr. Wentz notices, pretty well shielded as well by existing landscaping. Any comments? Commissioner Krieger?
No comments.
Commissioner Rampino?
No comments.
Commissioner Saunders?
No comments.
Okay. Commissioner Riley?
No comments.
Okay. Sorry, I should have started with a motion to approve. Is there a motion to approve application 20-24?
I'll make a motion.
Thank you.
I'll second.
Okay. Commissioner Riley made the motion. Commissioner Krieger seconded. We had our discussion. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none or hearing none. All in favor? Aye. Commissioner Elbaum's aye. Krieger, yes. Rampino, yes. Saunders, raising hand, yes. Riley, yes. It passes 5-0.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Steves. Good night.
Night.
Mr. Chairman, if I could just ask staff one question. Ms. Finger, could you confirm that mail notices were sent out by the applicants for the applications this evening?
Yes, all of the applicants sent out their certificate of mailing.
Thank you very much. I just wanted that on the record, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Thank you. Application 20-29, 94 Killian Avenue, Chris Russo for Richard Greenwood Testamentary Trust. Please come forward.
Chairman, members of the commission, my name is Raymond Rizzio. I'm really happy to be here before you tonight with regard to the application at 94 Killian Avenue.
It's good to see you again, Mr. Rizzio.
Nice to be back. And, you know, this is one that's near and dear to my heart. The Greenwood family, who's been in Trumbull for the last 55 years, raised 9 kids. And not that it has anything to do with zoning. Mr. Green was my first baseball coach, and I hope I do better than I do better for him, because my baseball career was very short-lived. So the Greenwoods purchased this property in 1966. What I'd like to do is kind of take you through a historical perspective. And although it seems like we're subdividing, all we're really trying to do is establish the historical lots, the lot lines that have been followed for probably from 46 for 70 years, and lot lines that have never merged, no intent to merge, and other aspects, which made it clear that this property was always to be kept separate. And but for the change in the regulations, when the Greenwoods were in their 80s and were not exactly following the Trumbull zoning regs, would be a lot that someone could come in and get a certificate of zoning compliance and get a building permit. So just for historical purposes, this property is in a, Chris, if you can pull up the subdivision map. These properties were established in 1939. And one thing that's important to make clear is that these properties were established, no, the original subdivision map. In 1939, these properties actually went through a planning commission. They went through an approval. So this wasn't pre-planning commission where someone literally would record a map, subdivide it out, and just establish lots. This was called Parkway Village. As you know, this is Killian Avenue in the St. Teresa's area. A lot of the homes back up to Plymouth, and the whole lots were established and set out, and most of the homes built in this area, and I'll give you some, and certainly along the north side of Killian Avenue, were all built in accordance with their original lot lines. So the Greenwoods, the house was built in 46. Greenwoods purchased this property from the only owner. Mr. Greenwood purchased the property as a growing family at the time. In 1966, they probably had 6 kids and were well on their way to 9. So they always wanted to have an extra lot, and they kept this extra lot. So Mr. Greenwood built the house, had the house in 66, never crossed the lot line. And then from 66 and 76, the subdivision regulations were adopted. Now, what's confusing about this is, and some of the commission, when Jamie Bratt was the head of zoning, she had it, there would be an inclination that if something was actually approved by the planning pre the subdivision regulations, but there was discussion of whether those subdivisions were going to be honored. And under the new administration, under Mr. Librandi, which I think is kind of correct in the way your regulations read, it's irrelevant except unless the merger does not apply unless the property was subdivided after the establishment of the subdivision regulations in 1976. But keep in mind, you've got the Greenwood family there from 66. They're raising a family. 9 years later, subdivision regulations come into play. He has no idea that it's affecting his property. And then in 1980, he was about to start another home. So he went, and Chris, if you can pull this up, he applied to initial steps to start building a second home, applied to the town sewer commission, went to the sewer commission before a public hearing, believe it or not, 40 years ago, 1980, in October 1980, it was granted the approval for the second tap on their property. They were then, you'll see there's an assessment letter. An assessment letter was put out. They were allowed to pay $240 a month for 18 years, which was added to the assessment for the 94 Killian Avenue property. Things got busy with the family. The years went by. However, if you'll notice, they've always kept the lot lines separate. I'll show you pictures where it's been fenced in. The lot lines have never been built over. At one point, there might be some gym equipment over there or a basketball court, but nothing that ever attached, nothing ever crossed the lot line. And Mr. Greenwood always honored that line. So now we come, the family's paid a sewer assessment for a lot. They think they've bought a lot that they've owned for the last 50 years. In 2010, the zoning regulations changed, and there was much publication with regard to the change in the zoning regulations. What there was not much publication or advertisement to was that this merger clause was going to be contained. I had some clients that found out about it, quickly came in, and all they would do is put one lot in their wife's name, one lot in the husband's name, and the merger didn't apply. Greenwoods did not look for the zoning regulations. They were never notified. Yes, these were advertised, but no one who owned multiple lots, who had taken aspects to protect these multiple lots, was ever notified individually that these lots were about to disappear. That's what happened in 2010 by the resulting adoption of this merger clause by the town. Mr. Greenwood dies in 2017 at the age of 91. His wife dies at 87. The understanding was, unfortunately, even though they were 91, they were pretty healthy along the way. The idea was going to be that they were going to be able, at some point, build a smaller house for them and have one of their children come and reside. Now in 2020, one of their daughters, Mary Jane, has moved into the house, and they have other members of the family that would like to stay on this family homestead, and they would like to build a house that is very consistent with every house in the neighborhood. So when you talk about hardship, there's a couple things. One, is it self-imposed? We don't believe it was self-imposed because they bought two lots. Chris, if you can go to their deed, the warranty deed into them cites lots number 15 and 16 on the Parkway Village lots. They then have paid for a sewer tap when the sewer tap came around, just like everyone else did in town for their lots. And then the zoning regulations changed. So strict enforcement of these regulations has created quite a hardship on this family that is, in effect, added into the purchase price and paid for this lot. Number two, held this lot for 55 years. Number three, paid a sewer hookup fee to the town of Trumbull for this lot. So it's not a self-imposed hardship. Is it financial? No, it's always been part of their estate plan. It's always been part of the family plan. The family's home has not been sold. They've kept it for 55 years. They have family that lives in Trumbull, wants to remain in Trumbull, and they have other members of the family that are now looking back to move into Trumbull. So this is not financially driven. It's really more just it's the ability to take advantage of what they paid for all these years. And also, it does not affect the comprehensive plan, because the comprehensive plan in this area is very particular. This is not a 5-lot subdivision. This was over 50 lot subdivision, of which almost all of the homes were built in accordance therewith. Chris, if we can next go to we put a little chart together that shows all of the frontages along the north side of Killian Avenue. What's that? The chart or the? Well, let's go to the overhead picture first, and you can see how the neighborhood has been developed over the last 60 years. Okay, so basically you'll see our lot in the middle, and if you look at the north side of Killian Avenue, every lot is between basically 70-something feet and 85 feet. As you can see, the house that was built there, and I will show you when we look at the what would be our subdivision plan. I like to call it just legalization of existing lot lines that we have never been built upon. And the other thing that I stressed to the Greenwoods when we came up with our plan was, let's not seek any other setbacks. In other words, let's make sure that we fit on the lot. So we have shown a house plan where we abide by our 20-foot setbacks on the new lot, and we abide by our 50-foot rear and front, which is also very difficult to meet on undersized lots. So they want to build 2,200 square foot home with a one-car garage, very consistent with what's in the neighborhood. The only setback variance will be the existing, let's call it, eastern boundary line of the existing home. So in other words, the existing home is built within 4 feet. There was a little, it was a screened-in porch that got finished that sits about 4 feet from where the property line will go. So the only people that will be bothered by a setback, the setback variance being granted, will be the owners of the new house. They'll take with notice of it. They'll know what it is. Chris, let's go to our chart. So just so you know, go ahead. We've circled all the properties with non-compliant frontages. If you look at the chart that we have, unfortunately, I talk quicker than my assistant, but.
Mr. Rizzio, while you're getting that, which is the neighbor on the Killian side, on the side of 94 Killian Street, just down the hill from them? What's that address?
That is, the name is Malasori, and we have submitted a petition where they've signed in favor. So our client has reached out, the family's been there forever. The Malasoris live directly, let's call it, to the west of this lot, which will be where the new lot is. They have signed a petition supporting the application. The family directly to the east. I have their name here. Hold on one second. You're taking me out of order, Chairman, so I will get it for you in a second.
Go ahead, if it's part of your presentation.
La Peña have also signed a petition, and my client has also talked to the two neighbors to the rear of the property, and neither party had any issue with this reestablishment of the lot line.
All right.
Now, if you look at our
Continue. I don't mean to get you off.
Does that answer your question, though?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, and I'll take you through the petition. Now, if you look at, we looked at all the frontages on the north side of Killian Avenue. And if you can see, our lot will be at 8550, which was withdrawn, and at 75 feet. If you take from the top of Killian Avenue almost to the bottom, you will see 85, 75, 78, 67, 77, 79, 81, 72, 74, 76, 75, 65. So this lot is going to be 100% consistent with all the homes in its line. Now, if you also look, we'll go back, well, we won't have to go back, but you have the Parkway Village, it was in our presentation. All the lots have the same depth. So they're all approximately the same size. I'm trying to think what else. As I said, we had a petition signed, which Chris will pull up. The Malasoris are at 114 Killian Avenue, directly to the west. And Patty La Peña at 84 Killian Avenue is directly to the east, and both support all of these applications. So the only, and also directly across the street, Mr. Cuneo, James Cuneo signed a letter supporting our application. This is clearly an issue of strict enforcement of these regulations brings a hardship on a family that has owned this property for 55 years with the full intent of maintaining it as a separate lot. Chris, can we go to the pictures just to give the commission a good look at what we're talking about?
There you go.
Oh. One second, that is just that is a lot across the street. Okay, this is, keep going. I just want to show you some, go ahead. This is from across the street. This is the new lot. I put these stakes up to show the commission basically how large this lot is, how large the frontage is. Chris, if we can go to another picture, you can see the property's well screened. This is another picture from the front across the street directly in front of it. Basically the same frontage as the house across the street so that you can see that this fits directly in favor. And Mr. Cuneo signed a letter supporting this application. Next, this is a picture of the lot, from the rear of the lot to the street. So the house sits up. The house will have, as you can see, is extremely deep and has plenty of room, as I said, once again, to establish a 50-foot frontage, 50 foot from the front setback and 50 feet from the rear. Chris can take another picture. I'm saving a lot of money at Walgreens, not to have to print out 10 of these every hearing. This is the neighbor next door. This is the La Pena's property. These properties are well maintained. The other part I wanted to show you is, Chris, if you can go to that. Go ahead. This is our property's fenced in. As you can see, the rear yard's fenced in, the side yards are fenced in. This is the only improvement that is on the rear lot, which used to be a little basketball court, because the Greenwoods could field a whole team, and a little trampoline. But that is the only improvement that has ever been put on that lot. And that does not cross the lines. Go ahead. And as you can see, the backyard, this is the stone wall that's along the rear yard. As you can see, we're not close to any of the houses in the rear, and the property is very well screened.
This is looking down.
Now I was going to start, go ahead, Chris. Now, if you take you down Killian, you will see that's the house, that's our client's house, was the white, oh, go back, Chris. That's, all right. One more back. Okay, so one more. So this is our client's house. The La Pena house is directly to the east. Sorry, he's jumping. All right, there we go. Our client's house, existing house is the White House. The La Pena house is directly to the east, and the house is going up Killian Drive, all between 70 feet of frontage and 80 feet of frontage, all the way up to the top of Killian. Now let's go the other direction. That's the house across the street. House will be facing us. Let's go. Now we're going down Killian. As you can see, the houses, as you proceed down Killian, all the same, 70 to 80 feet of frontage on each lot. And that's basically what our lot will look like. Houses are well spaced. Houses are well maintained. The Greenwoods would like to be able to keep a member of one of the members of the family would like to be able to stay there, build their own house, and add to this really beautiful historic, not historic in nature, but for the people that have lived in this neighborhood, most people have stayed there, grown up there, and would love to come back here because it's a great part of Trumbull, convenient part of Trumbull to live in. What other pictures do we have?
That's it.
I'd be happy to answer any questions the commission has, but clearly this is not a self-imposed hardship. We're not looking to create something from nothing. We're looking to reestablish a lot line that was put in place in 1939 and observed for almost the next 80 years. It's been kept that way. It's been maintained that way. The family Greenwoods have paid the town to improve it, to add sewers to it when sewers came around. And but for the adoption of the and there's also an Aquarian tap for this lot that it was been granted by Aquarian. Basically, all we have to do is get a building permit. So we're not adding to the density. We're not having any negative effect on adjoining properties. We're consistent with the master plan, comprehensive plan. And for all those reasons, we respectfully request this commission find hardship in our case and grant these variances. I'd be happy to answer any questions. I hope this was I wanted to give you, I'm sorry it took us a little bit long. It's an important application to me. And I just thought it was important that to give a historical perspective here, that this is not a build and flip type thing that you found an oversized piece of property. This is a piece of property that sat with the family for 55 years. The lot lines have been honored. The lot lines have been paid for, and we'd like to continue to be able to take advantage of that situation.
Thanks very much, Mr. Rizzio. I appreciate the thoroughness, or I should say the commission appreciates the thoroughness of your presentation. Could you take us, I have a few questions for you. You're asking for 6 variances. Could you explain each of the 6 variances and why they're needed?
So the first variance, and keep in mind, all of these are all within the original lot lines. We have not shifted the lot line a foot. So basically, like every other lot, as we showed you along the north side of Killian, they're undersized. So we are taking it and let me see, make sure I have my lot A and lot B correct. So Hold on one second, Chairman. I just want to get my,
Take your time.
all right, so Lot A will be the new lot. Lot B is the existing home. So for Lot A, we need to reduce the square footage from 21,780 square feet to 11,713 square feet, consistent with the exact lot lines. For Lot B, which is the home, we were going to be reducing the lot lines from the lot square footage from 21,780 to 13,566. A lot that's been, for the variance for Lot A, the frontage is going to be reduced from 125 to 75. And for Lot B, that existing home, 125 to 8550. The only two variances that have anything to do, both have to do with the existing home. We have from 20 feet to 4.8 feet on the lot line that will be between Lot A and Lot B. So this will not affect any neighbor. And keep in mind, we are maintaining the 20-foot lot line. The 20-foot lot line on the, for the new, we're not asking for any setbacks with regard to the new lot. And then finally, the variance to increase the floor area from 29% to 30%, which is still undersized, although it's a fraction high. That's just with regard to the existing house. There is no request for a variance for floor area ratio with regard to the new construction.
All right, and just to be clear about the side yard, that's the side yard between the new house and the old house?
100%. So it would be the western lot line for the existing house and the eastern lot line for the new home, for the new property. So as you can see here, the only setback variance is with regard to the existing house, with regard to the new lot, the new home.
How about the grade of Lot A? I was out there today, and I mean, this house, the proposed two-story residence, looks like it's going to sit very high up, almost looking down on what is that, 114 Killian.
Well, the whole street is like that, Chairman. I mean, it's got to be if you go to the top of Killian Avenue to the bottom, I don't know that any house doesn't sit very much below. This is going to sit upon its area. The people next door, the Mouse Service, we've shared them the house that we intend to build, and the shared with them the house that we intend to build and the location of the home, and they have no issue with regard to that. But the street probably, I guarantee, I probably from Killian Avenue at the bottom to Killian Avenue up toward Main Street has got to be a 30 to 50 foot drop. I mean, it is a big hill. So
yeah, no, this is on a hill. So let me ask you just a couple more questions. I have in the package that was submitted the support from the neighbors, including the two next door neighbors, and as you said, the neighbors directly across the street. We also have letters in opposition from nearby neighbors. Have you or the applicant spoken to those neighbors, and has been the nature of the
we're
discussion?
frankly surprised. My client has talked to the neighbors that he thought were affected. None of them had an issue. All of a sudden, out of nowhere, came this notice from a concerned neighbor. I don't understand what the concern is, because this lot affects none of the people who have signed. And then many of them, a few of them are anonymous, and a few of them are that I saw, at least that I got today from the town hall, are unsigned. So I don't really know where this comes from.
We have in our packet, I don't know if there are more than this, we have 4 in opposition, and of course the 4 you submitted in support.
I would think that they might not know the history of the application.
Yeah, I was looking for some color about the discussions with the neighbors to see if there was something that might help the commission's decision-making process.
I'd be if someone's here tonight, be happy to talk about it, and we're happy to consider any kind of landscaping, any kind of conservation easement that this commission has deemed before, where you have neighbors who are concerned about the cutting of trees down. If you can remember, we did a approval actually last year in October on Plymouth, 48 Plymouth, where the neighbors were concerned on the rear. Actually, neighbors on Killian Avenue were concerned about a variance that was given on Plymouth Avenue. Same thing, pre-existing old lot line. And what we did was we established a 15-foot conservation easement along the rear property line so that the neighbors were protected, that they would not have to worry about anybody coming and clear cutting the trees that they had become used to. In this instance, anybody that's impacted doesn't have an issue.
Okay.
We'd be happy if people can give us any kind of legitimate reason why they're opposing this, we'll be happy to address anybody's concerns.
Well, we'll see if people are going to speak. Let me just defer to the rest of the commissioners to see if they have questions for you. In the order that people appear on my screen, Commissioner Krieger.
I have a question for staff. I would like those setbacks on Lot A to be maintained, and I just want a confirmation that we don't have to make that, or I wouldn't have to ask that that be made a condition, that the 20-foot setback on both sides and the 50-foot in the front and the rear would automatically be required. Doug, are you-
You're on mute there, Doug.
I'm sorry, Commissioner Krieger, the 50-foot front and rear and the 20 on the side is in the regulations. So
Yeah.
if the applicant, if this was approved and the person that was going to build a house would come to me with something other than that, in other words, if they couldn't meet the regulations, it would I wouldn't be unable to sign it. It would have to come back before you.
I just wanted that assurance. Thank you.
Commissioner, also, we're here, and I think what's important when you look at those other letters, they don't understand hardship, but I don't think they understand our position. So we're here, this isn't self-created. This is something that had been honored for 70 years, and this is not, we didn't ask for any setback variance. So everything that we can have under our control with regard to respecting the existing boundaries we intend to do. So I think that's really, and I stress that importance. It ensures that a house that's built will be built in conformity with the other houses, that there's no floor area ratio variances. With regard to the new lot, will be 100% conformity with regard to size, with regard to density, and with regard to setback.
Commissioner Krieger, any other questions?
No other questions.
Commissioner Rampino, any questions?
No, I would be very interested to hear why the neighbors at 73 Killian, 129 Killian, and 120 Plymouth are in opposition of this variance. Hoping they would be on tonight.
All right, Commissioner, any other questions for Mr. Rizzio, Commissioner Rampino?
No, not at this time.
Commissioner Saunders, any questions?
No questions.
Commissioner Reale?
My only question is, or comment is with regard to the 4.8 foot reduction of the setback. That's the only relief or variance you'd be requesting if this lot sat by itself. Is that correct?
Correct, in a less than 1% floor area ratio. So from 29 to 30%. I mean, if you looked at a house and said, is that 29 or 30% floor area ratio, it would be, you'd never be able to notice it. And that one setback that we have will only impact the new home.
Right.
Same parties.
Thank you. I have no further questions.
Commissioner Riley?
I'd like to recuse myself from this one. I'm inches away from this and know many of the parties here.
So Commissioner Riley, why don't you, thanks for telling us that. Why don't you go on mute and close your video as well?
Yep, done.
Thank you. All right. Is there anyone else here who'd like to speak, who's calling in or on the Zoom video, who'd like to speak in favor of application 20-29 94 Killian Avenue? Mr. Chin, is there anyone trying to get in?
If there's anybody out there who would like to speak, just click the raise hand button or press *9 on your phone.
Mr. Chin, can you tell us where the raised hand button is on the
Sure.
screen?
It should be at the bottom of your screen. And you just click that, and that'll indicate a little blue hand for us to see, and we'll bring you in.
Great.
I cannot see that on my screen. Do I have a different screen in the public?
You have a different screen because you're a panelist. Yes.
Thank you, sir.
You just have to make sure you press participants button.
Okay. Is there anyone else on the call or a video who would like to speak in opposition to application 20-29, 94 Killian Avenue? Please come forward. Mr. Chin, are you aware of anybody who would like to speak in opposition here?
It doesn't appear that anybody is interested in speaking at this time.
Okay.
Chairman, can I add one last thing in rebuttal? Because I did look at one thing. The people that had some issues, 78 Killian Avenue has a frontage of 77 feet. 120 Plymouth Avenue has a frontage of 78 feet. 123, 86 feet, and 73 Killian Avenue is the only one that's a little larger, which is 100 feet. So, I mean, this is but for Mr. Greenwood not either transferring the house, the lot to his wife, or getting a building permit before 2008, this house would be the exact, this lot would be the exact same as every other lot up and down Killian Avenue.
I understand, but you're also saying, but for our town zoning regulations, you're effectively trying to unmerge the lots that were merged by the town zoning regulations.
Correct. But one of the big things when you look,
just to be clear, you're asking us to undo the specific zoning regulations of the town that created two lots and made them into one lot.
but I will tell you that is one thing that's very important when you look at the legal precedent with regard to the merger, and that is intent. And I think that's one thing I tried to stress here. If there has never been intent to the Greenwoods, they never built across the line and tried to reestablish it by taking down a garage and reestablishing a line. They never crossed the line, which would be an intent to merge the lots. The intent was.
Mr. Rizzio, isn't it the town merged the lots? The Greenwoods didn't merge the lots. The town by
Correct, but when you look at merger in general, it's people's intent, and I just wanted to make it clear. It's the adoption of these regulations and the strict enforcement of the regulations that's causing a hardship to the Greenwoods. They have not changed their situation at all over 55 years. And but for lack of knowledge, because it would have been an easy fix. I had a bunch of clients called up and said, hey, they're about to take these lots away from me. Just quit claim it to my wife. Let's put it in put one of them in an LLC. So there is an element of fairness here. And then when you look at intent, that they didn't, basically build over a lot line, build a large house and say, wait a second, I can make a little more money if I take off my screen and porch and cut up a lot. They acted in accordance with what they've been, and I think that goes to the fact about being self-imposed or a self-created hardship. This hardship was not self-created.
All right, thank you, Mr. Rizzio.
You're welcome. And also, remember, they did pay for a sewer tap. They paid a sewer use fee for 18 years for this lot.
I know Mr. Rizzio added some things. I just want to make sure any of the commissioners has a chance to speak to him before we go into our separate session. Commissioner Krieger, any further questions? Commissioner Rampino?
No question.
Thank you. Commissioner Saunders?
No questions.
Commissioner Reale? All right. Hearing no objection.
Mr. Chairman, there is a participant in the public who has raised their hand.
Okay. Could that person identify themselves and explain and come forward, please?
Mr. Chairman, I'm bringing the resident in now. Looks like it's Mr. Hatch.
Okay.
I think that's for another application.
Start my unmute. Okay, later.
Mr. Hatch, this is application 20-2994 Killian Avenue.
Yes, Can you hear me, Commissioner?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. I just have one brief comment about this. I know it's not the case that I'm here for tonight, but Mr. Rizzio was talking about intent, and I just wonder if the intent of the Greenwoods, I don't know the Greenwoods, I don't even know where Killian Avenue is, but you know, is it possible that the intent was just to keep a large empty space next to their house? I mean, he talks about they never built on it, they never encroached on it or anything like that. I just think it's worth considering that it might have been the intention to just keep it open space. That's all. Thank you very much.
Mr. Chairman, did Mr. Hatch identify his address, please?
Yeah, Mr. Hatch, could you identify your address? Thank you.
Oh, I'm at 8 Alberta Avenue in Trumbull.
Thank you, Mr. Hatch. I think we've heard.
Can I respond to that, Chairman, real quick?
Yes, but very quickly, please.
30 seconds. I have Richard Greenwood Jr. here with me tonight. If he can just explain to you with regard to intent, for the record, state that his father for 50 years always let him know that. Mr. Greenwood, if you can come in front of me and give your.
Yeah, it was
Just
always.
identify yourself.
Yeah, Richard Greenwood. I am the trustee of my father's testamentary trust, and it was always two deeded lots. When my father bought the house in 1966, they bought two lots. They had always talked about perhaps building a small house as they got elder, and you know, one of the kids would take over the big house. And it was always intended to be two separate lots. My father made the town put a second sewer connection in. There's an Aquarian water connection that was put in. So yeah, I mean, it was always considered to be eventually that the family would do something with the second lot.
Thank you, Mr. Greenwood. And could you identify your address too, please, sir?
Yes, my address is 126 Yacht Street in Bridgeport, Connecticut.
All right, thank you, Mr. Rizzio. Unless anybody objects or has questions, we'll now move to our work session for application 20-2994 Killian Avenue. Is there a motion to approve? Mr. Reale makes a motion to approve.
So moved.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Okay. Just, thank you. Who seconded it? Sorry.
Commissioner Rampino seconded.
Commissioner Rampino, thank you. And just to be clear about who's sitting for this application, Commissioner Riley recused himself, so everybody will be sitting for this application. Everybody who's on the call will be sitting for this application. This is a difficult one with people opposing it and not showing up, so it's hard to determine what their opposition is. I went to the site today, and interestingly enough, it would seem as if the neighbor who was sort of downhill would be most affected of anybody based on the way the lot was configured, and that neighbor has come out in support of this application. He's effectively trying to undo the zoning regulations that the town passed, so it's difficult. While they may not have been aware that the zoning regulations passed, they passed and affected everybody in town. And it was the town who merged the lots, not the applicant. It's a hard one because, you know, it requires a number of variances that are effectively undoing the work of the zoning commission. It's not some sort of nuance where it may not apply to a lot or just a part of a lot, so forth. Any other thoughts, Commissioner Krieger? Sorry, you're on mute, Catherine. You're still on mute. I don't know if Mr. Chin, have you muted everybody? Oh no, here we go. Sorry. Any other thoughts, comments?
No.
Commissioner Rampino, any concerns or thoughts about this one?
No, and I do agree with you where it would be beneficial to have heard from the opposing neighbors as to the reasoning, because their statement really doesn't state the extent of their opposition. My question to Attorney Cardone and staff is, if this application is approved with the variances requested, would it have to go before planning and zoning for a subdivision? It would. Okay. Thank you. Otherwise, no other questions.
Commissioner Saunders?
No questions. No core comments.
Thought you'd be helping me out with a little commentary. All right, Commissioner Reale here.
Yes. Mr. Chairman, this is a difficult one, and I think we've struggled with this in the past, the merger regulation, and I recall a matter on Endeavor Street.
Right.
Very similar. Not that we applied past applications as precedent for current applications, but some of the similar principles that we identified and looked at with regard to that application are very similar to some of the principles to be applied to this application, in my opinion. And it's a difficult one because we have to get over the adoption of the merger regulations, which created this, what otherwise was 2 lots, which is now considered as 1 lot. For me, I look to that the property's been owned by the same family forever. And I know the Greenwoods, with 9 kids and being from Trumbull, living there basically my whole life, I'm bound to run into one of them here and there. But I remember them when we were children, and I'm very familiar with the property as well, and the slope of Killian Drive as well. But having said that, I look to the spirit and intent of the owner at some point. And in this case, they applied for a second sewer connection. They paid a sewer assessment for 18 years. And they had a separate water tap for that second lot. So it always seems to me that the spirit and the intent of the parties in applying equitable principles, that potentially that for me may overcome the merger a matter that's before us, rather than call it a hardship, looking at it as 2 existing lots, and the spirit and intent applying equitable principles would have always have been that it'd be 2 separate lots, notwithstanding the merger statute. And that's my comment.
All right. I think you put me over the edge. Any other comments, questions? Take a vote. All in favor, you can raise your hand or say aye.
Aye.
Aye. It's unanimous. Thank you. Thanks for your comments.
Just for the record, all 5 commissioners raised their hand yes.
Correct. Oh, sorry. All 5 commissioners are in support of the application. We'll now go back into our public hearing. Application 20-3015 Alberta Avenue, Chris Russo for Daniel Bursinski.
Chairman, it's Raymond Rizzio again. If possible, my client has become aware of some concern by some neighbors. Although he's had a petition signed by probably 25 people, he would like the ability to address one of the people who put some opposition together, and it would be respectfully request, so we don't end up in a situation as maybe some previous applications, that we give him a chance to address that person. I'd like to continue this application to the next hearing if possible.
Yes, Mr. Cardone, that's permissible as long as that's fine with the commission, as long as it's fine with the applicant. Mr. Any comments or anything we need to do in that instance?
We need a motion to continue the public hearing to the next regularly scheduled meeting, which I believe is, we can get a date on that.
Can we just say the next regularly scheduled meeting?
I think we do have folks that are probably here to participate in the meeting, so we should put on the record the date of the meeting, and I believe it is
Ms. Finger, do you know that date?
November 4th.
It should be November 4th.
It is November 4th, Commissioner.
After
So
election.
Would
Okay.
ask them if the commission's so inclined, you have a motion to continue the meeting to our next regularly scheduled meeting, November 4th. And for those who are participating in the public tonight, they'll have an opportunity to speak at that hearing on November 4th. And the information will be posted on the town website.
All right.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion to continue application number 20-30 to the next regular scheduled meeting of the Zoning Board of Appeals, which as I understand is November 4th.
Thank you, Mr. Reale. Is there a second to that
I'll
motion?
second.
Commissioner Krieger seconded that motion. All in favor, say aye or raise your right hand. Aye.
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 All commissioners present are in favor of moving it. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I know we are not opening the public hearing. I just want to acknowledge that a couple folks have raised their hand. But we're not in a public hearing time at this point. So if they do have questions, I would encourage them to call the town staff regarding this. That would be Doug Lenz.
Excuse me, and I also have a question since we're alternating between the alternates. Who was voting on that to continue the motion? To continue the hearing to the next meeting?
Good question. Let's just go. So Mr. Riley, I would say was voting. We'll just going in the order that people appear, and Commissioner Rampino was not. Is that okay to do? And so for the next one, Commissioner Rampino will sit and Mr. Riley will sit and be able to vote, and Mr. Riley will sit but not be able to vote. Commissioner Rampino and Commissioner Riley, is that okay with you?
Absolutely.
That's okay with me.
All right, thank you. I appreciate the correction. Application 20-33, 480 Churchill Road, Christopher Russo for Domingos Mora. Please come forward.
Chairman, once again, it's Raymond Rizzio for the record. I'm representing Mr. Morrow with regard to this property that he's owned for about the last 20 years. This property is at 480 Churchill Road. You'll probably know it if every time you go down up and down Churchill Road and you wonder why that's the biggest lot on Churchill Road by far. This is a unique lot. The lot is over 1 acre. It's 1.2 acres in a half-acre zone. The lot is a very unique lot in effect that the only issue is, and we could have had one conforming lot with regard to frontage, and the only variance we're requiring is frontages on lot A and B. My idea was I thought it would be better to split the lot frontage 111 and 111 versus, you know, 125 and 100. I just thought it would be more consistent with what's out there. If you look at the oversize of this lot conforms in every way to its setbacks. What's most important about this lot, and I think both lots, which I think you'll find, is maximum lot coverage. In the A zone, we have a maximum lot coverage of 25%. The existing coverage, believe it or not, is 8.5. Because we're going to be taking down a large garage on the site, lot A, which is the existing lot, its coverage will go down to 4.2%. Lot A is, let me make sure lot A. I apologize. Lot A, these are, yeah, lot A are existing because we're taking down the garage. Its coverage will go to 4.2%, and lot B will be at 7.6%. So we basically have designed and have included homes that are very respective of the size of the lots. No problem with regard to building heights. As you can see, the rear setbacks are one is existing at 44 feet, which is the existing home, but lot B is going to be probably over 100 feet. The front setbacks are 115 feet, and no problem at all respecting any of the side yard setbacks at 20 feet. Well, it's clearly an oversized lot. However, it has one minor tweak, is that the coverage is a little bit short. So we believe, due to the unique, interesting shape of this lot, but for the shape of the lot, that this lot would have more than enough coverage. As you can see, the lots are probably, hold on one second if I get my glasses again. The lots are almost 300 feet deep. So the lots will be 111 by 240 to 275 feet deep. So that allows the homes to sit well off Churchill Road, still give the large expanse. We did an overhead look of what the homes look like on Churchill Road. And if you look at the homes along Churchill Road, you'll see these as split. Still, probably the biggest lots in the area. You can see all the lots that have unique and less frontage. Right next to us is 80 feet. Up to one lot is 100 feet. Across the street is 100 feet. Multiple lots across the street are 100 feet. And these lots, as I said, fit very well. I spoke to, really, I think the only party that will be able to see this house will be the part directly across the street, the Rankins. I talked to Susan and Andrew Rankin, and they gave me the authority to represent that they had no problem. They were happy to see that the new house, that the old historic house was being kept, that we were honoring the setbacks, and that the house that is going to be built will not in any way go near its maximum coverage and be consistent with the homes that currently sit along Churchill Road. For all these reasons, we respectfully request this commission grant this application. As you can see, in looking at the overhead, how deep this lot is, because these lots are long and narrow, that is what gives us our issue with regard to frontage. This has no negative effect on any other adjoining properties. The property is as well buffered as can be. There is no impact. If we can, Chris, if we can go through a couple pictures, give the commission a feel for it. That is the garage will come down, and this will be the drive, basically the driveway to the new lot. The new lot will basically sit on the side. You see that tree down the middle? That tree is almost sitting on the property lines between the two lots. Okay. If you get a look at how well this property sits, it basically, if you look at the parking, the garage, move it a little bit to the left and it becomes a house, that is what you're going to see. A really nice colonial-like looking home sitting on Churchill Road behind this magnificent stone wall that runs the length of the property. I think what's also good is I'm pretty sure when it comes to the subdivision, the commission will now have the opportunity to extract sidewalks the entire length of the property, which will help because I know there's no sidewalks in front of this property. This is a look at the existing house, which is well screened. In fact, you probably drive by it, might not even see that the house exists. Go ahead, Chris. This is looking from up Churchill Road. This is the existing house, beautiful historic house. Mr. Mora keeps this in tremendous condition, even with the size of the lot. The lot is always cut, well maintained. We've never had any issues with the town. So we get to bring down this non-conforming garage and replace it with a similar style home. That's from the garage looking back. And those are the pictures that hopefully gives you a feel for what this property is going to look like. It's still going to look like each lot will still look like one of the most expansive properties along Churchill Road. I'd be happy to answer any questions. I think our hardship is driven by the shape of the lot. We clearly satisfy, without even question, any of the other categories with regard to density, with regard to lot coverage, with regard to building height, not even close on the setbacks, and we more than exceed the required square footage. I'd be happy to answer any questions the commission may have. We think this is well in keeping with the comprehensive plan and will have no negative effect on any adjoining properties.
But for about 15 feet of frontage along Churchill Road, you'd be going in for a subdivision application.
Correct, 100%. We well exceed our square footages. No problems with the setbacks.
All right, thank you, Mr. Rizzio. I don't have any further questions. Commissioner Krieger, any questions?
I don't see a hardship here. And I also don't see the kind of equitable considerations that we discussed in the previous application. Can you, Attorney Rizzio, just tell me more about the hardship here?
Sure. The hardship is, we believe, in the shape of the lot. I think it's much more of a push when your lot's undersized. In this issue, in this instance, because the lots are so deep, that a more balanced lot would give us, so it's driven by our shape. And one of the things for hardship is shape, topography. Shape and topography are two of the considerations the commission can take into account in determining hardship. It's not self-created because we're not changing the lot lines. The lot lines itself, but for the frontage, size would all conform, and we don't require any setbacks. So I don't, and the commission also has the ability to look at things when they look at minor variations that don't affect the comprehensive plan, that they can grant a hardship in these instances.
It is self-created though, in that you're splitting the lot.
Correct, but it's the shape of the lot that's requiring us to come before you. You'll have that in many instances where people need a side yard setback because the property is misshapen, or a corner lot, or a lot, I know I've been before you, with lots that have a triangular shape or a pie shape that something can be put there, but making it consistent with the comprehensive plan and consistent with the neighborhood allows for the granting of a variance. So if we were coming here and everything here was a half an acre, and we were looking to split 3/4 of an acre into two 1/3 acre lots, yeah, that's self-created. We're just looking for more than we're entitled to. In this instance, because of the shape of the lot, we have more than adequate square footage. We believe that there's a hardship by strictly enforcing these regulations. You guys are a board of equity. You have the ability to look at things and say, you know what, this doesn't affect the comprehensive plan. This doesn't have a negative effect on any neighboring properties. This property is consistent because we're in a half-acre zone. It has a half acre. It's just that the lots happen to be excessively deep. You have the authority. That's what the ZBA is for. I mean, everybody that wants to make their house a little bigger, wants to put a shed or a pool a little closer to their sight line, you have the authority to judge to check off the boxes and see does this fit in, and does it fit with the neighborhood. In this instance, if you go up and down Churchill Road, these are going to still be two of the biggest lots up and down Churchill Road. And because of the way Churchill Road was cut up, a lot of the existing lots don't have conforming frontage. So, and they don't have conforming square footage. This is going to be two of the largest, when divided, will still be two of the largest lots on Churchill Road. So that you have the ability to make that judgment, to weigh frontage versus size, to weigh setback versus density, to weigh floor area ratio or lot coverage versus, so for example, some lots are too small and you guys give lot coverage variances because you don't want somebody building a 1,000 square foot house where everything else around it is 2,200 square feet. So it's a weighing game that you guys get to perform because of zoning regulations and the way the Zoning Board of Appeals has such power. You're frankly never wrong, very rarely wrong. But in this instance, I think when you weigh your component, what you're supposed to look at, you're supposed to look at the comprehensive plan, the adjoining neighborhood. Will this have a negative effect? Will this affect the comprehensive plan? And is there something unique about the lot, which we believe is, being the fact that the lots are 250 to 275 feet deep, which is, as you can see from the overhead plan, we probably go a good 50 feet deeper than any of the lots surrounding us. So I just ask you with regard to weighing that situation where you have, and you really can't even tell whether somebody's got 10 feet of 14 feet of frontage less on either lot. I purposefully did not come in with just one lot frontage waiver. We could have come in with one 125-foot lot and one, what do we have, 222, so and 100-foot lot basically. And I thought it was more appropriate that it be consistent with the neighborhood. And I think by splitting the lots, although it is two variances rather than one, I think it creates a more uniform look. It creates some better spacing up and down Churchill Road, and frankly, these lots have more frontage than most of the lots along Churchill Road that currently exist. These lots, you gotta remember, these lots were formed back in the 20s, and these lots were kind of just, people just whacked up Churchill Road back then with no thought of subdivision regulations, with no thought of square footage. It's whose family owned this? How do we split this up? These lots never real. This is map number 34 in the town of Trumbull. So, Churchill Road was probably a dirt road when they split this lot up. So I think if this lot was split at a later date, somebody would have certainly made it more conforming.
All right, thanks, Mr. Rizzio.
The shape of this lot that we believe causes our hardship.
Thank you, Mr. Rizzio. Commissioner Krieger, do you have any follow-up questions? Commissioner Rampino?
No, I do not have any questions.
Okay. Commissioner Saunders, any questions?
No questions.
Commissioner Riley, any questions?
No questions.
Thank you. Commissioner Reale?
No questions, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who'd like to speak in support of application 20-33, 480 Churchill Road? Please come forward.
Again, any residents out there, just press the raise hand button.
And Mr. Rizzio or Mr. Russo, would you mind removing plan from the screen as well? Thanks.
I got it. Okay.
Thank you. Is there anyone who'd like to speak in opposition to application 20-33, 480 Churchill Road? Please come forward. All right, hearing no one in addition in favor or opposed to this, we'll now move to our, without objection, we'll move to our work session. Is there a motion to approve application 20-33?
So moved. Commissioner Reale, so moved.
Commissioner Reale, the motion, is there a second?
Saunders seconds.
Thank you, Commissioner Saunders. I'll start the discussion. While this doesn't seem like a significant change because, if these lots were created today, they except for the frontage, pretty much meet it. There really isn't a hardship here. It's completely self-imposed. So it's, as Commissioner Krieger pointed out, it's a little bit harder sell than the, as you mentioned, the family sort of missing the deadline on the zoning regulations. I think I have a little tougher time because the hardship is self-imposed here. Any other comments, Commissioner Krieger?
Agreed. I have the same reservation.
Commissioner Saunders?
No questions, no comments.
I lost Commissioner Rampino. Is she still there?
It does not appear that she's on.
No. Let's go through the list and hopefully she'll come back. And then before we vote, Commissioner, unless Mr. Chin, would you be able to try and email or text her to see if she can come back?
I just sent an invitation again.
Thank you. Mr. Cordone, should we move ahead with the work session discussion in her absence?
Well, Commissioner Riley could vote on this matter as well if he likes. Dave was a part of the hearing.
That's a good suggestion. Why don't we do that?
Without
Commissioner Riley.
Mr. Riley, did you participate in the public hearing?
Yes.
Okay. Commissioner Saunders, sorry. I think I asked you and you said you had no comments, but I just wanted to confirm.
Yes, no comments.
Thank you. Commissioner Riley.
No comments.
Thank you. Commissioner Reale.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I mean, my comment basically is that I appreciate the historical aspect of that Churchill Road area. And Attorney Rizzio did do an effective job of explaining that area and how it was developed. I've been in the town long time, not nearly as long as Mr. Rizzio, but not nearly as long as that road was a dirt road back in the day. But and I'm familiar with that lot being one of the largest lots in that area. And I understand the restrictions on the size of that lot And I think you can also make the argument to a certain extent that the reduction in the frontage from 125 to 111 is almost de minimis in relationship to all of the other lots on the Churchill Road area. So for me, although there's no clear-cut, distinct textbook hardship, I think the argument can be made, and as made by Attorney Rizzio, and by virtue of the fact that it's in conformity with the neighborhood, and I think you can make the argument that it's somewhat de minimis. So those are my comments with regard to the application.
Thank you. Any further comments from the commissioners before we take a vote? Okay. All in favor, please raise your hand or say aye.
Aye.
Saunders in favor, Reale in favor. All opposed? Riley, Elbaum, Krieger opposed. Okay. I will reopen the public hearing. Application 20-34.
Go ahead and mute here.
By the way, before we go to application 20-34, Ms. Finger, I didn't see any engineering comments in the packages that were delivered. Were any engineering comments required for the for any of them?
I emailed the engineering comments to the commission yesterday.
Oh, okay. I will find that then. Sorry. Thank you very much. Since we're in our public hearing portion, there are engineering comments that I failed to provide at the end of one or more approvals. I'll read those into the record now. Although these have been provided to the applicants, or will be provided to the applicants, I will put them on the record. Application 20-29, 94 Killian Avenue. The engineering comments read as follows. Prior to engineering approval, applicant must show compliance with the administrative policy for stormwater management and drainage design standards. Applicant must also obtain a driveway, street opening, and sanitary sewer permits. That brings us current to application 20-34. Application 20-34, 6567 Main Street, Christopher Russo for Trumbull Superstock Realty. Please come forward.
Chairman, members of the commission, Raymond Rizzio before you tonight.
Mr. Rizzio, it's always good to see you again.
Chairman, I bet you just can't wait till you press that mute button, huh? It's coming, don't worry. You know, this is the gas station.
We enjoy seeing you and the thoroughness of your presentation.
Thanks. Well, at least my old baseball coach, I can tell I didn't strike out tonight, so. Chairman, members of the commission, you know this property at 6520 Main Street. This is not an application. I want to make it clear that we do not have to show any hardship. This is an application before you because you are the judge with regard to non-conforming properties, and anything that happens on a non-conforming property needs your permission. So this property is in a Residence A zone. This property is there by virtue of variances, historical variances along a very, very long way. And you are here to determine if this is appropriate. So you in effect act in this capacity. We don't have to prove hardship. You in effect act as the P&Z board and say whether this is appropriate. And this is, we believe, is an accessory use, not an expansion of a use. I don't know, we've had many discussions on this property with regard to those things, but I think this one's pretty clear that it is just an accessory use. So our client currently has an air pump that is attached to the building on the side of the building. It creates an issue when people pull in for the air pump that they sometimes block the people that are coming out from repairs. They sometimes don't park correctly and tend to block, they pull up to the air pump and pull up sideways, so that if you look at the plan, Chris, if you can pull the plan up, show the air pump. The air pump's on the left side of the property. So the air pump is on the left side of the property. What tends to happen is people want to put air in their tires, and they don't like, they'll park sideways with half their car parked. You know, they don't use the actual parking spot. They park what's convenient to bring the air, you know, the air hose around, and they'll sometimes they'll block traffic. It's in a very awkward spot. What our client would like to do is move it to a spot alongside Gisela Road, and then add 4 vacuums. These vacuums are, many clients ask us that, you know, it's no different than, we believe, different than having it when you're washing your gas, if you're cleaning your windows with a wiper, with a, you know, one of the hand wipers that are available there. This allows people basically to come over, use their vacuums, and then it also provides a designated space outside of the flow of traffic for people with regard to the tire pump, air pump. I'd be happy to answer any questions. We believe this is pretty straightforward. We don't believe it's expansion of the use. We don't think it's we believe it may be a little, it's not, it's certainly something that's consistent with its use. And we put it in a spot where it affects, really, it's at the bottom of the hill on Gisela Road, where it would affect no one. We'd also be willing, if the commission would like, to put up arborvitae in front of the air pump, in front of the vacuums and air pumps, so that they would not be visible from the street. That's really our presentation. As I said, I don't need to go through a hardship. I don't need to describe the juggling act that you guys have to go through with regard to every other application. In this instance, you are the sole arbiter because this is a non-conforming property. We think it's an accessory use. There's been demand for it from existing customers, and it is a better location for our air pump. I'd be happy to answer any questions. I think it's pretty straightforward. The house that's directly up Gisela Road sits up on a hill and is well shielded by very strong, very heavy buffering along that. I can't tell you what the rear of the property. We made sure to put it on the other side of the property. As you know, the condo association had been concerned when we were going to do a car wash there. They had been concerned about the traffic and impact over there. So they're literally across Gisela Road is where the condominiums are. This will have literally no impact on anyone. And when we add we would agree to put 6-foot arborvitae across that row of parking so that the commission would not have to worry about these items being visible. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you very much, Mr. Rizzio. I just have a couple of questions. So if there are no vacuums now on the site, how does installing 4 new vacuums not expand the use?
Because it's consistent with a auto service center. We're an auto service center. When they do the repairs, I mean, you could vacuum inside the building. No different than placing next to the gas pumps, placing a windshield wiper with it's an auto-related. We're permitted to have auto-related uses. This is clearly an auto-related service use. We're there as an auto service repair shop, auto service shop, and that includes gasoline and repairs and maintenance. So we believe this is consistent with the maintenance, a maintenance provision as relates to automobiles.
And then can you distinguish this from the case, which I'm sure you're familiar with, the Trumbull Superstop versus ZBA of the town of Trumbull, the one from February 19th of earlier this year?
What about the car wash?
Correct.
Well, the commission's position on that, I still don't agree with the commission's position on it, respectfully, nor the judge's position. But I think the position on that was there was a change in the circulation, a change in the use and an expansion of the use by adding a different type of business. This does not provide a different type business. This is merely an accessory use. I think the issue was still, I believe, up for debate. My client didn't want to take it to another level, that whether washing the cars was a separate and independent business. I can clearly tell you that vacuuming the inside of vehicles is not an independent business. I think that's the distinguishing factor.
Yeah, just for the benefit of everybody, would you mind taking down the what you displayed just so everyone can see everyone better? Sorry, I think I cut you off there at the end.
Me?
All right. Yeah, no, those are the only two questions I
I think
have.
that's the difference. I think that the decision was that this was a separate business that was being operated independent of the auto service business. This is clearly not an independent business. It's an amenity and an accessory to the current repair, service, and maintenance facilities that are there. And if we add the screening that we're willing to put there, I don't think anybody will even know that they're there. And I think it will allow us, we also have the air pump there already. It'll allow for much more orderly use of the property.
All right, that's all I have. Commissioner Krieger, any questions?
Yes, I thought I saw in your letter to Mr. Wentz that there were air pumps.
Correct.
Plural. So there's going to be more than one.
One air pump. I apologize. If there is, it was a typo. We're asking for one air pump and 4 vacuums.
Okay. It says it in the second paragraph.
I apologize for the typo.
Okay, just wanted to clarify.
And we could make it conditioned on 1 air pump and 4 vacuums, and the location is shown on the plans.
Thank you.
Commissioner Krieger, no further questions?
No.
Thank you. Commissioner Saunders?
No questions.
Okay. Commissioner Riley?
So how about noise? That's really my question. When they're servicing cars at this facility, do they have to keep the doors shut?
Yes.
They do, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then how do we know how loud these vacuums are?
I'll tell you what I could do, because I could see that's an excellent question and one that I probably should have anticipated. What we can do is, if you would like, we'd continue this matter and I can give you an analysis of the actual machines and the decibel levels at the next hearing if the commission would agree to do that. It's an excellent question. I apologize for not having that information before you tonight.
Well, let's continue the rest of the questions and see if there's more as well.
So that's pretty much all that I have. What's the ambient and now what are we doing to it? What is 1 vacuum? And for that matter, what is 4 vacuums? How loud are they?
Gotcha.
That's all I have.
I apologize. I should have had that information for you tonight.
I agree with Commissioner Riley. I think it's not just the noise level from 1 vacuum. It's if all 4 are going at the same time.
We'll get an answer to both those questions. Plural, on the plural side on that one.
Thank you. Commissioner Rampino, any questions?
No, I had similar concerns regarding the noise levels. So other than that, no other questions.
Commissioner Reale, any questions?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yes, just dovetailing off of Commissioner Riley's notice with regard to noise. My question was, what's the magic number in 4? Why do you have to have 4 vacuums? I mean, I'm familiar with the vacuums. I see them at other gas stations and at other facilities, but why 4?
Well, just basically to service your existing customers, people that might just come in for vacuum, and because of the number of pumps we have, they basically put the number of vacuums. I believe we have 4 pumps there also. It's not a magic number. We think it's the number that would be appropriate for the site in the amount of volume of maintenance and gas service that they do. That's not a hard and fast number. I know we don't need 10 and we'd like to have more than one.
Thank you, Mr. Rizzio.
Sorry, I was on mute. Based on the questions, Mr. Cordone, should we stop now and have a motion to continue this for another month, or should we hear from anybody else in favor or any opponents first?
I think we should open it for public comment at this point in time. You could still keep the hearing open, continue the hearing to next month, so people could speak again if they want, or someone new could speak, of course, but if there is anyone here tonight, they should be able to speak to the application.
Okay. Is there anyone else who'd like to speak in favor of application 20-34? Please come forward. Is there anyone who'd like to speak in opposition to application 20-34, 6567 Main Street? Please come forward.
Mr. Chairman, it looks like Mr. Callahan would like to speak, and I'll bring him in.
Thank you.
There's also somebody on the phone, but we'll take Mr. Callahan first.
Thank you. Mr. Callahan, can you hear me? Mr. Callahan, you appear to be on mute. Mr. Callahan, can you hear me? I cannot hear you.
How about now?
Yes, I can hear you, Mr. Callahan.
Okay, thank you very much. My name is Frank Callahan. I'm the property manager at Terrace Condominium, which is on the north side of the property. I have spoken before this commission before concerning Mr. Rizzio's continued attempts to expand the use. Thank God a judge disagreed with him. But we are talking about the location. We think the location is fine in relationship to the condo. Obviously, it's on the furthest away part of the property, Giselle Road. But our concern is exactly what the commission has said about the noise. We need a noise report, and like what would be one per, 2 per, 3 per, 4, because again, I've never seen anybody at four vacuums. And if there is a noise problem, then we need to address that, and you're going to at the next meeting. But the location and the is fine for the condominium. But we need to know more, as you do, about the noise.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Callahan. Do any of the commissioners have questions for Mr. Callahan? If you'd like, just sort of raise your hand and take yourself off mute. I do not have any questions. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Callahan. Is there anyone else who'd like to speak in opposition or in favor of application 20-34 6567 Main Street? Mr. Chin, you said there was somebody else on the line.
Yes, there appears to be somebody calling in on the phone. Last 3 digits of the phone number are 002. If they could press *6, I believe, is to unmute.
On the phone, can you hear us?
There we go.
Yes.
Please state your name.
Can you hear me?
Yes, please state your name and address. We can hear you.
My name is Behruz Tahiri. I live on 6 Serenity Circle, which basically my property is right across the gas station on the Gisela. And my house and my deck is probably, I don't know, I'm just guessing 100, 120 feet from where the proposed spot is for this vacuums. I would hate to sit on the deck in the evening after work and listen to 4 whining vacuums. And I am very close. I'm not across the building. I'm not on the north side. I'm just basically across the street. And it would be like a really, really bad for me.
Thank you, sir. Are there any commissioners who have questions for the member of the public speaking? Hearing none, thank you. Is there anyone else who'd like to?
May I add that I can hear people talking on the gas station parking lot. I cannot really see how bad this noise would be. I know how it's going to be terrible.
Okay. Thank you very much, sir. I don't see anyone who has questions for this gentleman. Is there anyone else who'd like to speak in opposition to application 20-34? Okay. Mr. Rizzio, unless you have any concern about continuing this hearing until our November 4th hearing, we'll entertain a motion to do so.
Right, no problem. I just would like to point out that the neighbor, so I don't think that we're being disrespectful at all. The neighbor's house is about 380 feet. It's over a football field and a third away from where we're talking about. We will address and give a sound analysis with regard to 1, 2, 3, we might and make this commission comfortable that this will not have an impact on any adjoining properties. I appreciate Mr. Callahan's discussion with regard to being okay with the location. We will try to do what we can to make him comfortable with the sound. And I thank you for your time.
Thank you. Is there a motion to continue application 20-34 until our public hearing on November 4th?
Mr. Commissioner, I'll make a motion to continue application number 20-34 until the next scheduled hearing, which is November 4th.
Thank you. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Mr. Riley just beat out Commissioner Krieger in seconding it. All in favor? Aye. Raise your hand. Great. Thank you. Passes unanimously. Application 20-34 is continued to the next public hearing date on November 4th. The next up is application 20-35, 11 Cook Circle. Alyssa and Christopher Laurent, please come forward.
Hello. Thank you for the opportunity, Mr. Chairman and fellow commissioners. I'm Chris Laurent. This is my wife, Alyssa. We're here to present our case for an application for a variance to put in a sunroom and an above ground deck. The sunroom would be roughly 49.2 feet from the end of the property line, and the proposed deck would be at its closest point 28 feet from the property line. So the request is for a variance to set up both of those elements there. We have sent out all of the notices to all of our immediate neighbors and everyone on the list that was provided to us. We've also spoken to and gotten consent from all 4 neighbors that are directly abutting our property. So that would be Mr. and Mrs. Wood, Anna Yamamoto and Scott Brownscombe, and our newest neighbors replacing Mike and Kate Pacheco next door. The specific hardship that we have that we're claiming, and apologize, I don't know the right technical term, so it's my first time, so bear with me, but in essence, it's the only place that we can put it, at least from a sunroom perspective, adjacent to our house where there's an existing structure with doors going out to our patio. So I, again, apologize. I don't know the exact technical term, if that's self-imposed or not self-imposed. I was trying to catch up on the legalese from our colleague, Ray Rizzio, who we heard from for a while, but I'm not sure what it's called. So I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have. And thank you again for the opportunity to speak to you on this matter.
Thank you very much. Thanks for presenting your application tonight. I don't have any questions. Commissioner Krieger, do you have any questions?
No questions.
Commissioner Saunders, any questions?
No questions.
Commissioner Riley?
No questions for me.
Commissioner Rampino?
No questions.
Commissioner Reale?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have one brief question, and it may be leading, so, to the applicant. So your hardship, would you agree, is the pie-shaped topography of your lot and how your existing house is situated on that lot? That would be your hardship, is that correct?
That's correct. It's a odd-shaped lot and an even odder-shaped setback, if that's any consolation. I don't know, again, the exact technical term, but yes.
Thank you. I have no further questions.
Thank
you. See, Commissioner Riley will always get you there if you need a little help on hardship.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Let's see. So we have to decide who's voting on this one as well. Commissioner Rampino, you stepped off on the last one, and Commissioner Riley voted. So you'll vote this time, and Commissioner Riley, you won't vote. Is that correct? Do I have that right? Yes. Okay.
I make a motion to approve.
Excuse me, Mr. Elbaum, Mr. Chairman, did you ask if there's anyone who's speaking in opposition to this application?
Yeah, I jumped the gun on a few things. Anyone, and we didn't go into we didn't leave the public hearing yet either. So is there anyone else who'd like to speak in favor of application 20-35? Please come forward. I don't see anything. Is there anyone who'd like to speak in opposition to application 20-35? Please come forward. Anyone in opposition? Thank you. Hearing none, we'll move to our work session. Is there a motion to approve application 20-35?
Saunders makes the motion to approve.
Okay. Commissioner Saunders?
Reale
Approved.
seconds.
Thank you. I think this is relatively minor. Unless anyone has any real issues or concerns, we can quickly move to a vote. Is that okay? Or would you like to go through the list? All right.
I don't have any
All in
comments.
favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, it passes unanimously with Commissioner Rampino sitting on the vote. For application 20-35, sorry, I think I have an unstable line here. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yeah.
Okay. Application 20-35, the engineering comments are as follows. Applicant must make an application to the Inland Wetlands and Watercourse Commission. Thank you very much, Mr. and Mrs. Lauren.
Thank you. Thank you. Have a good evening. Thanks. Bye-bye.
Application 20-36, 1362 Huntington Road, Alexander Casabianca. Please come forward.
Good afternoon, good evening. How are you? This is Alexandra. My name is Alexandra Casabianca, and I just need to do an expansion of my second floor. It's half second floor, so I just trying to make it a full second floor. I know there are some setbacks. There's a very minor one in the very end of my front, which is like an inch, half an inch. It's supposed to be 50 feet away, and the very corner is about 49.5. So that's my setback. I am not changing anything on the exterior. I'm just going up on the same footprint. I don't know what.
Ma'am, would you state your address for the record, please?
I'm sorry, 1362 Huntington Turnpike in Trumbull.
Thank you. I don't have any questions. Commissioner Krieger, do you have any questions?
No questions.
So no questions. Thank you. Commissioner Saunders, do you have any questions?
No questions.
Commissioner Riley, any questions?
No questions.
Commissioner Riley? Thank you. Commissioner Rampino?
No questions.
Commissioner Reale?
No questions.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who'd like to speak in favor of application 20-36? Please come forward. Is there anyone here who'd like to speak on the line or in person or on the video in opposition to application 20-36? Please come forward. Thank you. At this point, we're going to move into the work session. Is there a motion to approve?
Saunders makes a motion to approve.
Is there a second? Is there a second? Reale seconds the motion. Thank you, Matt. Good use of 2 fingers. This one looks pretty minor. She's going straight up pretty much. Commissioner Krieger, any comments?
No comments.
Thank you. Oh, just to be clear, so on the last one, I'm confusing them. On the last one, Commissioner Riley, you voted. So on this one, Commissioner Rampino will vote. Is that correct, or did I have it backwards? That's correct. Okay.
No, you have it backwards.
I have it backwards. All right. So Commissioner Riley is going to vote. Commissioner Rampino, you'll stay silent. Thank you. It's late. Commissioner Saunders, any comments?
No.
Commissioner Riley, any comments?
No comment.
All right. Commissioner Reale, any comments?
No comments, sorry.
Okay. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Unanimously approved. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. If you just, there are no engineering comments, ma'am. And last on the list tonight, application 20-37, 15 Magnolia Road, Brittany and Domingos. Please come forward.
My name is Brittany Vaz. My address is 15 Magnolia Road, and we're seeking for a building permit to do a 2nd-story addition above our 1st floor existing floor. We submitted our plan so you guys can see what we're planning to do if it gets approved. And then I also submitted 3 letters from our neighbors, both on each side, the Breiners, the Moyers, and then across the street, the Rizzos, in favor of the addition. And I also mailed out all of the letters that on the list that was provided to us.
Great. You did everything you have to do. Now we have to do what we have to do.
Yes.
All right. Thank you very much. I don't have any questions. Commissioner Krieger, any questions?
No questions. I'm having a hard time finding those letters, though.
I did not see the letters in the package either.
The letters from the neighbors?
Yes.
Yeah.
I gave them to Doug. I can email them over to you, or I have them here, but I hand delivered them to Doug.
Are all of the, Ms. Vaz, are all the letters the same?
They are, each neighbor wrote something differently. Are you referring to those letters or the ones that I had to mail out myself?
No, the letters in favor. If you wouldn't mind, Commissioner Krieger, if this would be helpful, if you wouldn't mind just stating the names of the people in support and their addresses, that would be helpful.
Okay, so I have one from Joseph and Dorothy Moyer, then they're at 19 Magnolia Road. If you're looking at my house, they're to the right. I also have one from across the street from Biani Rizzo, and she's at 20 Magnolia Road. And then I also have another letter from Mr. and Miss Breiner, and they're to the left of our house if you're looking, and they're at number 11 Magnolia Road.
And those letters are all in support?
Yes.
Thank you. Were there any qualifications in the letters, or was it unconditional?
They just all think that it would be a well fit for the neighborhood and it would bring up the value. But they didn't see an issue with it. We're just going up on our house. We're not expanding outwards.
Thank you. I don't have any other questions.
Okay.
Thank you, Commissioner Krieger. Commissioner Saunders, any questions?
No questions.
Thanks. Commissioner Riley, any questions?
No, it looks pretty straightforward to me.
Thank you. Commissioner Rampino, any questions?
No questions.
Commissioner Reale, you could have the last question of the evening.
I have no questions. I appreciate the opportunity, though.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who'd like to speak in favor of application 20-37? Please come forward. Or anyone who'd like to speak in opposition to application 20-37, please come forward. Mr. Chin, no one's on the line, I assume? No hand raised?
Nobody indicated they wish to speak.
Okay. At this point, we'll go into the work session for application 20-37. And I've completely lost track of which alternate is voting. Is it Commissioner Rampino voting? Okay, thank you. Is there a motion to approve application 20-37?
I
Commissioner
move to approve.
Commissioner Krieger makes a motion to approve. Is there a second?
I second it. Commissioner Rampino.
Thank you, Commissioner Rampino. On the discussion front, once again, appears pretty minor. I really don't have any comments. Commissioner Krieger?
No comments.
Thank you. Commissioner Saunders?
Yeah, I just have one quick thing. Mrs. Voss, can you just tell Mr. Moyer that Rob Saunders said hello? He's one of my favorite teachers back in the day.
I will definitely tell him.
Thank you.
Have a good one.
It's good. On the record, too, Commissioner Saunders. Commissioner
He played
Rampino?
Beatles albums backwards in his class. He was a music teacher.
Yep.
He would do what backwards?
He played Beatles. He went through the whole playing records backwards, and he was a great guy, great teacher.
Wow.
He's a great neighbor.
Is he still golfing?
Yes, in our backyard here and there.
Technically, the public isn't supposed to comment on your work session, so.
I apologize.
Sorry.
All right, don't let Mr. Saunders get you out of line there. Commissioner Rampino, any comments?
No comments.
Thank you. Commissioner Reale?
I don't have any comments. I have a question for Commissioner Saunders. What instrument did you play?
Oh, no, it was general music. That was a.
Just, I have no questions. No comments.
You had no musical skills. This is what you took to get it.
I know the class.
Yes.
Fantastic. All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Based on the hands raised and the voices, it's unanimously approved.
Great, thank you very much.
Our pleasure. There are no engineering comments at this time. I think that finishes our business today. Is there a motion to adjourn?
Saunders makes a motion to adjourn.
I'll
Absolutely.
second that.
Second from Commissioner Riley. All in favor? Aye, we're adjourned. And
Aye.
thank you very much to town staff and Trumbull Community Television. And